There's something undeniably different about people who grew up in the 1970s, not just in the way they see the world, but in how they approach life's challenges. The 1970s didn't just shape a generation, it forged a specific psychological resilience, a resilience that many of us are still only starting to understand. Let's begin with something that's often misunderstood. When we think about childhood, we assume that more supervision equals better outcomes. We think structure, guidance, and constant monitoring will lead to better results. But the kids of the 1970s, they prove that theory wrong. Imagine this. You're 7 years old, and after breakfast, your mom tells you the same thing every day. Go outside and be home before dark. No GPS tracking, no parents checking in every hour, no structured activities, no overscheduled weekends, just you, your neighborhood friends, and the freedom to explore your world. You'd spend hours outside, creating games with nothing but sticks and imagination. You'd climb trees with no safety net, build forts in the woods, and settle disputes with your friends without a single adult stepping in. When someone got hurt, you didn't wait for an ambulance. You figured it out. You learned how to make things work. And when the game got boring, you didn't turn to a screen or a phone to entertain yourself. You invented something new. This hands-off approach wasn't abandonment. It was trust. Trust that you could figure it out. And neuroscientists have discovered something incredible because of it. This kind of unstructured play rewires your brain. It builds executive function, the ability to plan, adapt, and think critically without constant guidance. Now, picture this. You're riding your bike through the neighborhood. You see the Johnson's car parked in the driveway at an unusual time. You instinctively know to read the situation. You recognize which neighbor's yard you can cut through without a problem, and which one would probably yell at you.
You can tell when the older kids are in the mood to let you play and when you should keep your distance. This wasn't paranoia, it was survival intelligence. When you're navigating the world with minimal adult supervision, you develop something unique, a sixth sense for situations. You learn how to assess risks, make split-second decisions, and read people's intentions based on their body language and tone. You get sharper, more aware, and better at surviving social dynamics. What researchers call hypervigilant social awareness might sound clinical, but for you, it was just everyday life. It was paying attention to the little things that made you sharper than kids today, whose every social situation is narrated by an adult. Fast forward to 3:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. The school bus drops you off, and you walk home, fishing the key out from under the flower pot. You unlock the door, step inside, and feel nothing. No panic, no fear, just the quiet sound of your footsteps and the hum of the refrigerator. You drop your backpack, feed yourself, start your homework, maybe call a friend on the landline. This daily routine wasn't loneliness, it was competence. Every afternoon, you proved to yourself that you could handle the next few hours alone, that you were capable, that you didn't need someone hovering over you to survive.
That competence was hardwired into you during those quiet afternoons. When something went wrong, you didn't look around for someone to fix it. You asked yourself, what can I do differently next time? Psychologists call this an internal locus of control, the belief that your actions directly influence your outcomes. But for 1970s kids, it wasn't a theory. It was simply the way things worked. You fell, you got up. You broke something, you figured out how to fix it. This kind of self-reliance runs deep. Now let's talk about boredom. You remember those long afternoons when you finished your homework, watched your hour of TV, and still had hours to kill before dinner. You'd wander into the living room and say those two words, "I'm bored." And your mom would look at you and say, "Go find something to do." That was it. No phone, no tablet, no immediate solution. Just you, your restless mind, and the feeling of having nothing to do. So you wandered outside. You stared at the clouds, reorganized your card collection for the third time, or called your friend. And guess what? They were bored too. So you sat together in your boredom until one of you came up with something. Boredom wasn't an emergency. It was just a nudge from your brain telling you it was time to create something new. Today, parents treat boredom like a disease that needs immediate treatment. But back then, you let it sit. You let it simmer until something amazing emerged. This tolerance for discomfort extended far beyond just boredom. People who grew up in the 1970s can sit in silence without reaching for their phones. They can wait in long lines without losing their minds. They can handle uncertainty because they learned early that not every moment needs to be filled with stimulation or instant answers. Here's the fascinating part. Studies show that people who experienced regular periods of understimulation as children have more active brains for creativity, self-reflection, and innovation. Boredom taught your brain how to generate ideas from nothing. It made you more resilient. You learned to embrace discomfort and make something out of it. Let's bring this to a big oak tree at the end of the street, the one with branches thick enough to climb, high enough that the ground looked small from the top. You climbed trees like that, and sometimes you fell. You rode your bike without a helmet, racing down hills, hands off the handlebars, because that's what made you cool. You jumped off bridges into questionable water and built ramps for your skateboard out of whatever you could find. And yes, sometimes you got hurt. You scraped your knees, twisted your ankles, maybe even broke a bone. But here's what happened. You learned to calibrate risk. You learned what was truly dangerous versus what just looked scary. You developed a system for understanding your limits because you had tested them. This wasn't recklessness. It was wisdom earned through experience. While other generations might freeze when faced with uncertainty, 1970s kids learned to assess and adapt. They understood that some risks were worth taking because they lived through the consequences of caution and boldness. The 1970s generation was taught something we've forgotten in today's world. They were raised to be independent, resilient, and patient. They weren't afraid of discomfort or failure. They embraced it. They didn't look for someone to rescue them when things went wrong. They learned how to get up and keep going. And in the process, they developed the emotional intelligence and confidence that too many people today are missing. It's time to remember that sometimes the best gift you can give someone isn't protection from struggle. It's the tools to navigate it independently. Were you raised with this kind of independence? How do you think it shaped you? Let's talk in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, hit like and subscribe for more insights into the psychology that shapes our lives.